Do you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everyone. This is Harold Green of Brightree Financial Group, and it is time to stop doing what you hate. How's everybody doing? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic week. I am super excited today to be bringing the show to you, and it's going to be part of our Successful Professional series. And today with me on the show, I have someone that's near and dear to me. He's a client. He's also a friend. You know, we talk with each other. We encourage each other. And it's just exciting to have people in your corner and on your team that are rooting for you every day. And so I'd like to introduce you guys to Mr. Brian Bianchin. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you, Harold. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Brian, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about Brian. And he's a registered nurse here in Honolulu, Hawaii. And he's going to be sharing a little bit about the profession and how he got into it. And we're going to talk about what he loves about it, because you can't really do something that with passion that you absolutely don't love. And so we're going to get into that. And so, Brian, I want you to start off by sharing with the listeners just a little bit about your job and how you found it, the passion or the passion for that field. And then just kind of give us a brief update on where things are in the medical profession and what you see coming down the pipe. So we're going to go kind of Q&A, but if you can just kind of share with them how you found the profession that you're in right now.
Sure, yeah. Currently, I am a critical care nurse in the cardiac intensive care here in Honolulu at the Queens Medical Center. And I've been doing this for about 20 years as a critical care nurse, 25 years total in nursing. The Queens Medical Center has been my one and only job. I went there out of nursing school. And just to go back, I did not think of nursing as my first profession when I went off to college. I thought I'd be a business major. And, I found out in that first year that business was not going to be for me. And so I spoke to the college counselor at the school I was attending. And, they asked me for my likes and dislikes. And I told them it was science and math were my likes. And I had an interest in health and well-being. And one of the kickers that they asked me was, were you interested in making money? Lots of money.
That's a good one. That is a good one right there.
And that's a no-brainer for me. I said, of course I am. And so they said, why don't you consider nursing? And I thought, wow, really? Nursing? And this was 25 years ago now. I did not realize that men went into nursing back then.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed to say that. But now today, there are a lot of male nurses. And so went into nursing. And about 5 years into my nursing career, I decided I wanted to go into critical care. And I chose cardiac critical care because it is near and dear to me, and it's that passion. In my family, my father had his first open heart surgery at age 48.
Wow.
And being in healthcare and knowing about family genetics and so forth, I just thought, you know what? I'm a healthy person, but this could be me. And I'm interested in knowing about cardiac and how the heart works. And so it was a passion for me. And my father was still living then when I became a cardiac nurse. And he was with us for another 10 more years. But it was interesting to care for patients out of the operating room that was just having open heart surgery, looking at them as if, and I could see my father in them. And also knowing that it was my life that I wanted to change, and I wanted to help these people that were in the beds that I was helping after their open heart surgery to maybe change their lifestyles and their patterns so that they could live longer, healthier, and have a better life. And so from there, our hospital kind of changed their format, how they configured And we became a comprehensive cardiac unit that included more the medical side, or the CCU aspect of heart critical care. And so I've gotten to expand my professional career into both the medical aspect and the surgical side.
Wow. Okay.
And I've stepped up into a role as a charge nurse for our critical care unit.
Okay.
And I've been doing that actively for about the last 15 years. And I'm a night shift nurse. I love the night shift. It's not for everybody, but I love the crew and the team that I work with. Shout out to them. And it's a passion. You got to love what you do going to work, because if you don't love it, then you're fighting against it.
Right.
And that just is miserable to be fighting against it.
And you're in a field where you can't have that attitude going in every day, because you got to help save people's lives. And I think it'd be hard going into a situation where you're trying to treat a patient and you just can't stand your coworkers, or you can't stand your boss. And patient experience is everything, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah. And even sometimes patients are difficult,
Right.
And I'm not going to lie about that. We all have our ways, and not everybody wants to change, and not everybody wants to do exactly what the doctor prescribes. And you get resistance, you get pushback. And so it's going in there with an attitude of love and tolerance. And, we don't always have that. We're not always at the top of our game. And for me, I often have to I'll pray for that love and tolerance as I go to work.
Right.
That I can be there at the top of my game to help everybody.
Right. So real quick, Brian, a lot of times when we interview students, and you've said it on a student interview, as a matter of fact, we did a couple of student interviews with your sons, and you kind of saw how that went, and you saw the questions and things of that nature in regards to, the kind of passion, or what is it that you want to solve in the world, or what type of impact you want to make in the world. I'd like for you to share with the people that are listening, and the students that are probably listening in. Can you just tell me a quick story of one of the most rewarding days you've ever had as either a charge nurse, critical care nurse, or just being a nurse in general? Like, just give me a real quick, like 2 or 3 minute story about a day that happened to you that just said, you know what, this just makes me love what I do all the more. And I know you probably have several, but just give me one that's just so touching that you think would help, benefit the conversation.
One that comes to mind was early in my critical care career here as an open heart nurse. And you got to understand, I'm going to tell your listeners, as a nurse, we talk about everything comes to us and it doesn't bother us. So, emotions aside, I'm just going to say it for what it is.
Yep.
So we had a patient, unfortunately, he wasn't doing well, and he was arresting numerous times, and we had brought him back numerous times. And the doctor...
Arresting meaning going into cardiac arrest, right?
Yes, cardiac arrest. Thank you. Yeah. And we brought him back a number of times, and he just continued to go into cardiac arrest. And the doctor finally said, okay, we had gotten him back, but the doctor had decided that, if he does this again, we're going to let him go, because it's futile. We're not able to help him, unfortunately, and so we did. And this patient's, vital signs, they dropped. We thought, okay, this gentleman might have a few hours to go. And his blood pressure was really low in like the 50s and 60s. And that's not good for your other organs, your brain, lungs, kidneys, so forth. But we thought, okay, we're going to just make him comfortable in the end here. And time went by, and he didn't deteriorate. He just kind of lingered there. And we were like, okay, we're going to support him, but we're not going to do heroic measures here. And 1 hour became 2, and 2 became 4, and 4 became 8. And then next thing you know, it's 24 hours later, and he's still with us. And and the blood pressure is still low and not really good. And of course he's on the ventilator and can't speak to us. And he wasn't waking up, but lo and behold, this person, he recovered, and it was a miracle. And we began, and as he got stronger, of course, we began to support him with medicines and procedures and everything that he needed. And we thought, what a miracle that, and he woke up and he was with us for over 100 days.
Wow.
But he recovered and he went off to a rehab hospital after that. And from the rehab hospital, he wasn't the independent self that he was when he came in, but he required living with a foster family type that could just help him. And he was single. He didn't have family. So he went off to live with a foster family. And he came into the hospital about a year later needing some help. And I remember when he came onto our unit and it was like, oh my God. I mean, like, you are a miracle, in that I've never had that happen to me again in the 20 years that I've been here.
Wow.
That somebody, I mean, we thought it was the right thing to do to stop helping this man because he was continuing to keep arresting. And, we didn't think that we could do anything within our power, but it was a higher power, I guess. I'm going to say it was, it wasn't his time. It was God helping him. And he survived, and he came back in, and he, a year later he came back in and we got him through whatever he needed to go through. And he left the hospital to go back to living with his foster family. And since then he's passed away, but it was just a true miracle that we were able to see him survive and then able to help him and then get back out there. And he had more time to live and to be a part of this world. So I would say that was probably one of the greatest stories that I remember in my nursing career.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen like that every day, and you don't, and sometimes you lose people, right? And you just kind of have to, carry that, and you see that every day. And I'm amazed by you guys. And, every time I watch a TV show where people are being saved or people are being lost, and I think about you and some of the other doctors and nurses I work with, and I just think it takes a special kind of person to be able to see that and, just kind of not put it aside, but then you just have to continue to move on and help as many people as you can. So that's amazing right there. And one of the next things I want to ask you in the few minutes that we have left is, let's talk about the paycheck. Because a lot of kids want to make a lot of money, but sometimes they just don't know what a lot of money is. And so if you can kind of give me some pay ranges from a person starting out, right out of college, right into whatever unit that they're in, just kind of give me some ranges so we can kind of put this in perspective.
Sure. Here, living in Hawaii, we're unionized, and I know you have listeners on the mainland. So here in Hawaii, we're unionized, and we have one of the highest hourly wages in the country. We're comparable to like some of the biggest inner cities like New York, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago. You might not see these types of pay scales in the outer, but in rural or suburbs, things like that. But here, a new grad starting, it takes them about 2 years to get to what we call job rate.
Got it.
Because you do need experience in the workforce. And a starting new grad might be around $45 an hour. Usually you get a pay raise every 6 months until you hit that 2-year job mark, because then they feel like you're the equivalent of the other nurses on your units. So job rate, I'm going to say, is around $60 an hour right now.
Okay.
And it's pretty good. I can tell you, being night shift, most new grads will get hired to night shift because most people with experience want to move to days for their family. But when you work night shift, you get an additional $4.50 an hour pay. So if you're at job rate at like $60 or $62 an hour, somewhere in there, and then you're working night shift, that's an additional $4.50. So roughly you might be making $66 an hour. Now for me, in our union here in Hawaii, after 15 years of service, I get an additional $1. So that takes me up to 67. And then, as a charge nurse, I get an additional hourly raise there too.
Wow.
Yeah, it can be very, very lucrative to.
And we're not even talking overtime yet. We're just talking, basically straight 40 hours a week.
Correct that. That's 36. So a lot of nurses here will work 3 12-hour shifts. And
wow, okay, 36 hours a week.
36 is considered full-time.
36 is considered full-time. And then after the 36, you start getting into the OT.
Right. So you got 4 hours more of regular time. So if you pick up, but anything over 40 hours is time and a half. So it's 1.5 hours, your hourly rate.
Right. So becoming a nurse, it can be a very lucrative thing if, you find the right place and you get into the right hospital. And so I just kind of want to thank you very much for bringing this to us and sharing this with us. As far as the education is concerned, I'm just going to put this out here and you can tell me, am I right or wrong? If you're looking to become a nurse, what's the most important thing? Is it where you went to college? Or is it more of just basically getting through the nursing program, even if it's at, say, the University of North Texas? Or, I've had friends who've become nurses and they started off at community college and then they went on into a nursing program, which I think is 2 years, right? And then from there, right into a hospital or a clinic or whatnot. So what would be the quickest and fastest route for the kids if they're considering getting into the nursing field? And we have about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, real quick. You can get an associate's degree and still get your state license, but a lot of hospitals today are actually requiring or wanting a bachelor's degree or higher. So you could actually get an associate's degree and take the same state licensing as a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
It doesn't really matter where you go to school. However, certain schools might have a stronger influence locally with their hospitals than others. Because once you take your state license, you have the state license as the same as every other nurse, no matter where they've graduated school. So no, it doesn't necessarily matter, but by going to certain colleges, it might open more doors for you. But if you can get a job and get experience, that's all that matters. Because once you get experience and you begin to build your resume, you can go anywhere and you will be hired within minutes. It's a matter of getting your degree, taking your state license, passing your state license, and getting your foot in the door. That will be the hardest thing to do. Get your foot in the door. Once your foot is in the door, and you need to do whatever you can to get your foot in the door.
That's the most important thing, is getting your foot in the door, whether it's here in Honolulu, Hawaii, or in Omaha, Nebraska, or Wichita, Kansas, or Denver, Colorado. Some kids are just fixated on saying, hey, I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there. But the most important thing is going wherever they give you that opportunity, because here in Hawaii, it seems like the hospitals are only really bringing in people who already have the talent, right? Is that correct?
That is true. And this is the same for every hospital across the nation. It just costs more money to train a new graduate. But you got to find where they're hiring, and then you can put in 1 or 2 years there, and then you can write your ticket anywhere you want to go in the country.
Got it. Anywhere you want to go.
Yeah. If it means coming back to your Hawaii, because Hawaii was where you grew up, if you do 2 years in Nebraska or Washington State or Florida, wherever you can get a job, a lot of local kids do this. They'll go off to school on the mainland at a cheap, lower costing college, get their education, get their license in that state, go to work in that state, put in time,
Yep.
2 years, and then they come home and they apply to work back here in Hawaii, and the hospitals just love them because then the hospitals are not having to invest the money that a new graduate costs. Although our local hospitals do pick up new graduates, but they're much more eager to pick up experienced nurses.
Right. And that's the most important thing. There you have it, Mr. Brian Bianchin of the Successful Professional Series. Stop doing what you hate. It's time to start doing what you love. And Brian, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and just sharing with the families and the students out there that are listening in, because I think having someone who's actually in the field, giving them the rundown is very helpful. So there you have it. Brian, I want to thank you again for being on the show. And thanks for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, and I appreciate you.
Sure. Love to talk.
All right, folks, there you have it. Until next time, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.